Welcome to Secrets of Superpowers, the channel that reveals the hidden mechanisms of power and the shadowy operations that define our world. Imagine no longer belonging to yourself, that your thoughts, your memories, your decisions are merely code that can be cracked. For decades, we've been told about the arms race, the missiles, the bombs, the tanks. But the most terrifying weapon of the Cold War was not made of steel or plutonium. It was in the mind. It was capable of turning your friends into enemies, your heroes into assassins. This was Project MKUltra, a CIA program that revealed that man's deepest secret, his consciousness, could not only be cracked but actually rewritten. We are about to dive into a dark history that the US government would prefer to erase forever, and find out if they truly succeeded in creating Manchurian candidates. Today, we talk about the CIA's biggest experiment. When the Cold War began, the enemy was obvious, the Soviet Union. But for the CIA, the true enemy was intangible. It was hiding behind the Iron Curtain and was believed to possess a secret technology more terrifying than the atomic bomb. Mind control. American intelligence believed that Soviet and Chinese communists had developed truth serums, hypnotic codes, and methods capable of turning a captured soldier into an indifferent, programmed assassin. This paranoia gave birth to Project MKUltra, launched in 1953. Its goal was twofold: defense, find ways to counter the enemy's methods; offense, develop their own, more effective mind control techniques to manipulate foreign leaders and recruit agents. This project was not a small, isolated lab. It was a decade-long, pervasive, illegal operation spanning over 80 institutions, universities, hospitals, prisons, and even brothels. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all evidence destroyed. But some documents were saved, and what surfaced was shocking. But do we truly know everything? Was this just a failed scientific experiment? Or did MKUltra truly create programmed assassins? Let's begin this investigation. Like the space race we discussed, MKUltra also has its dark roots in World War II. Many of the technologies and ideas that formed the basis of MKUltra came from two sources. First, Nazi experiments. Through Operation Paperclip, which we detailed, the US brought over more than just rocket engineers. They also brought over specialists in psychological warfare and chemical influences who had experience in brainwashing and using extreme methods on human subjects. While officially denied, many of the methods used in MKUltra bear an eerie resemblance to those tested by Nazi doctors in concentration camps. Second, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb. This is a key figure in the MKUltra story, a chemist known as the CIA's Black Magician. He headed the technical services staff. His assignment was simple and horrifying: find any chemical, biological, or psychological substance that could manipulate the human mind. And it was Gottlieb who placed his bet on LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. In the early 1950s, the CIA purchased virtually the entire world's supply of LSD. They saw it as the perfect truth serum, a substance that could erase identity, force a person to talk, or even carry out orders they wouldn't remember afterward. The experiments began, and they were brutal. MKUltra's methods were not scientific. They were brutal and often deadly. The CIA conducted experiments on people who had no idea they were subjects. 1. Experiments without consent. A large portion of the work was carried out on unsuspecting citizens. CIA operatives, often undercover, administered massive doses of LSD in drinks to civilians, agents, military personnel, students, and even people in public places. The goal? To observe their reactions in real-world conditions. 2. Operation Midnight Climax. This is perhaps the program's most scandalous part. The CIA opened a network of safe houses, brothels, in San Francisco and New York, where undercover agents could observe the reactions of clients, men seeking intimacy, who were secretly given LSD and other drugs. This was done to study LSD's effect under sexual stress and, more importantly, to practice blackmail and create compromising material. 3. The tragedy of Frank Olson. In 1953, Army scientist and biological warfare expert Frank Olson was dosed with LSD by his CIA colleagues during an experiment. Days later, Olson, suffering from paranoia and depression, died after falling from a hotel window in New York. The CIA claimed it was suicide. Only 22 years later did his family learn the truth about the LSD. Many believe Olson did not jump but was liquidated by the CIA because he knew too much about the particularly dangerous aspects of MKUltra. These experiments lacked any scientific justification. They were merely inhumane attempts to break the strongest thing a person possesses, their will. MKUltra was not limited to dark CIA labs. To give its research legitimacy and attract the best minds, the CIA collaborated with leading universities and hospitals, funding their research under the guise of grants. The CIA used over 80 institutions in the US and Canada, often without informing the institution's leadership of the true purpose of the experiments. 1. Dr. Ewan Cameron, a key figure in this story, the president of the World Psychiatric Association, who conducted experiments at McGill University, Canada. Cameron developed a technique called psychic driving. He put patients into prolonged, drug-induced comas up to 86 days, subjecting them to continuous repetition of recorded phrases through headphones. The goal? To erase their existing identity so it could be rewritten with a new one. The results were disastrous. Patients suffered permanent brain damage, amnesia, and loss of basic skills. The CIA paid him $69,000, a huge sum at the time. 2. Experiments on children. While most known cases involve adults, there is evidence that the CIA funded research that included experiments on children with mental disabilities, exploiting their vulnerability to study the effects of drugs and trauma. This data still causes the most public outrage. These doctors violated the Nuremberg Code, rules established after World War II to protect human rights in medical research. But, as with Operation Paperclip, victory over communism justified, in their view, any crimes. This is the hottest topic in the entire history of MKUltra and the main conspiracy angle. Did the CIA succeed in creating the ideal, programmed assassin agent? The term Manchurian Candidate comes from a popular 1959 novel, where an American soldier is captured and brainwashed, turning him into a sleeper agent activated by a code phrase, facts fueling the myth. The goal was precisely this: Official MKUltra documents indeed. Discussed creating the ideal. Agent who doesn't remember being an agent. Keywords. Techniques of hypnotic programming and dissociation were a priority. Myths and conspiracy. The Kennedy assassination. The most popular theory links MKUltra to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Proponents claim Lee Harvey Oswald was either a sleeper agent or a victim of manipulation that made him the perfect scapegoat. Serial killers. There are theories that some serial killers who lacked clear motives were byproducts of failed MKUltra experiments that activated destructive programming within them. The result. While the CIA officially states they failed to create any fully realized Manchurian Candidate, conspiracy theorists believe this information is just another cover-up. They claim the most successful, most effective, and most horrific results are still kept in secret. Untouched archives. In 1973, as public scrutiny of the CIA increased due to the Watergate scandal, CIA Director Richard Helms made a fateful decision: destroy all documents related to MKUltra official destruction. This was a massive destruction of evidence. The CIA disposed of all files related to the program's contracts, experiments, participants, and budget. Why we know the truth, but, thankfully, CIA financial controllers had a habit of keeping duplicate financial records, and it was thanks to these miraculously surviving financial documents, which remained in the accounting records, that the public learned of MKUltra's existence. The Church Committee, in 1975. Under public pressure, the U.S. Senate formed a committee led by Senator Frank Church to investigate CIA abuses. The committee's investigation confirmed MKUltra's existence and described its horrifying methods. It was an unprecedented moment when the American government officially admitted to conducting illegal, unethical experiments on its own citizens. The main question: why did the CIA destroy the evidence? If the experiments were failures, as they claimed, why didn't they keep them for scientific analysis? Conspiracy theorists believe the CIA destroyed the documents not because of failure, but to protect the names and methods of the most successful and most inhumane experiments that could have undermined the government's legitimacy. Although MKUltra officially ended in 1973, the idea of mind control did not vanish. Conspiracy theorists believe that these studies simply moved into a more hidden, technologically advanced phase. Point 1. Electromagnetic control. The theory is that the CIA and military moved from chemicals to using electromagnetic waves and frequencies. Research suggests that certain frequencies can induce auditory hallucinations, an effect known as the microwave auditory effect. Conspiracy theorists claim this can be used for non-lethal control or transmitting commands without the victim's knowledge. Point 2. Modern technologies. The development of neurobiology. Neurocomputer interfaces, like Neuralink, and sleep research raise new concerns. Some conspiracy theorists believe that modern labs are continuing MKUltra's work, but now under the guise of treating mental disorders or enhancing brain function. 3. The new enemy. If the enemy during the Cold War was the USSR, today it is your own brain. Who controls the data from neurointerfaces? Who has access to technologies that can manipulate our emotions through advertising or social media? The philosophical question of MKUltra has become more relevant than ever. MKUltra left behind a long and ugly trail. Point 1. Lawsuits and compensation. Some victims of Dr. Cameron's and other institutions' experiments received meager compensation from the US and Canadian governments. However, most victims never received recognition or compensation because their medical records were destroyed. MKUltra's legacy is not just a scientific failure but a massive human tragedy. Point 2. Cultural myths. MKUltra became a cornerstone of modern culture. It inspired dozens of films, TV shows, like Stranger Things, The X-Files, and books. Every time we see a sleeper agent or a government conspiracy with experiments in a movie, we see the shadow of MKUltra. This myth is alive because it is based on real, documented government crimes. Point 3. The change in consciousness. The most profound impact is the lasting distrust of authority and medicine. MKUltra taught us that the government can and will conduct inhumane experiments on its own citizens in the name of national security. And that is a lesson that will never be erased. We began with the question, is our consciousness merely code? Project MKUltra, officially, failed. The CIA did not create an army of robot assassins, but MKUltra achieved another, more dangerous result. It destroyed our trust in state institutions. It showed that in the race for domination over the mind, ethics would be the first casualty. Remember that we only know about the 20,000 documents that miraculously survived. What did the millions of destroyed files conceal? Was the greatest secret of MKUltra truly that the experiment turned out to be too successful to be revealed? The question remains open. If you value investigations into the secrets that shaped our world, subscribe, like, and share your opinion about the Manchurian candidates in the comments. Thank you for watching.